Marino spends a Sunday afternoon running for his life. Coming up, the complete story of Sunday's drowning of the Dolphins. We'll talk to the other half of the Saints kicking tandem, punter Tommy Barnhardt, as he boots his way to the Pro Bowl. And we'll talk to Sunday's heroes Frank Warren and Vince Buck about battling back. Plus, we'll update you on some saintly good deeds. Hey, Dan, settle down. Saints Sideline is next.
Saints Sideline, brought to you by Midas. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. Your local Isuzu dealers. Budweiser. Nothing beats Saints football and nothing beats a Bud. And by Lennox. It must be a Lennox.
This is an exclusive presentation of WGNO Sports. Ed Daniels, Alexander Laurent, Saints Sideline.
Hello, thank you for joining us on Saints Sideline. I'm Alexander Laurent along with Ed Daniels, and I'm sure that Dan Marino is glad he only has to see the Saints defense once every 3 years. With Sunday's win and the Eagles' loss in San Francisco, it looks likely that the Saints will host a first-round playoff game.
Saints could have been tied for the division lead on Sunday, but I think the Eagles got a little bit of a job down there in the fourth quarter on the goal line at San Francisco. But nonetheless, if the Saints win 3 of their last 4, they are guaranteed to host a playoff game. A rejuvenated running game and an opportunistic defense were the keys to Sunday's win as the Saints beat up on the Dolphins 24-13.
Saints offense scored 1 touchdown. Special teams turned it over twice in the third quarter, yet the Saints still won. First series after halftime, Pat Newman fumbled. Miami's ball at the 31. The Dolphins would get only 3. The second to last play of the third quarter, Tom Barnhardt didn't have time to punt it. The Dolphins would still get only a field goal.
Our defense going in those situations and holding them to a total of 6 points was I think, the difference in the football game today.
A championship caliber defense rang up 5 sacks. Most Dan Marino's been down in any one game in his 10-year career. Pat's swilling speed rushed to the outside, past All-Pro Richmond Webb, handed Pig Goff a 28-yard waltz to the end zone. Dan Marino overthrew Mark Duper and found Vince Buck. 34 yards later, the game was over.
I think on a couple occasions when I blitzed him a couple times in our scheme, he didn't want to be hit today. You know, he just felt like everything was caving in on him. He's used to getting his passes down the field. He's used to getting the guys in the end zone, you know, and he wasn't able to do that today.
Dan, do you feel your offensive line is collapsing around you?
You know, you always come up with negative questions, but no, actually, I think they were doing a really good job.
Miami coach Don Shula was gracious in defeat. Listen closely to his post-game chat with Jim Mora.
Go have the hell of a game. You guys are good. Keep it up. Good luck. Thanks. Same to you. Well, I don't know about that. We're just trying to win one. Good job.
Shula told Mora to go get the big one. And he wasn't talking about Thursday night's game with the Falcons.
The Dolphins' loss was their 4th in their last 6 games, and South Florida sports writers are blaming the Miami offense. Here's what they're saying. Michael Mayo of the Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel writes, this finger of blame could only be pointed at the offense, which produced only 1 touchdown and allowed 2. Meanwhile, the defense, again playing without John Offerdahl, held the Saints to 1 touchdown and Morton Anderson's 26-yard field goal. Special teams came up with 2 big plays deep in Saints territory, but the offense cashed in for only 6 points. It was supposed to be Murderer's Row, Marino, Jackson, Clayton, Duper, Humphrey, and Higgs. Talent oozing from every position. Scoreboards spinning numbers like a pinball machine. Officials raising arms in end zones coast to coast. Instead, after a 3rd straight dismal performance, the offense has become football's equivalent of Dr. Kevorkian's invention. Talent stumbling at every position. Scoreboards frozen. The recurring image, Dan Marino and offensive coordinator Gary Stevens swapping words and disgusted looks on the sideline after the disaster du jour.
2 of Sunday's defensive heroes have battled back against a great deal of adversity, but Vince Buck and Frank Warren have beaten the odds to make it back into Saint uniforms.
This defense is arguably the best in the league. And those in the know in the NFL know it takes more than 4 great linebackers to make it work.
5 sacks, most he's ever had in his career.
Was it?
Yeah. What do you think?
That's great. You know, I'm glad I'm a part of the team to do it to him. You know, it's something we can hang our hat on.
Defensive tackle Frank Warren is not and probably won't be a Pro Bowler. But his push up the middle is key. When Warren served a 1-year suspension in 1990, he was missed.
He's always been big. I mean, the year that he was not here, we did not have quite as good a middle push as we now have, and particularly when you have good outside rushers like we do, that certainly helps.
Cornerback Vince Buck is not a Pro Bowler yet, but probably will be. His 34-yard interception return against Miami was his first NFL touchdown, a highlight in the last 12 months filled with 2 big loads.
It makes me feel good because, you know, every time I try to step up and be a top-notch player, I get knocked down.
December 1st, 1991 at San Francisco. Vince Buck goes out for the year with a neck injury once thought to be career-ending. Buck returns for the start of the regular season, only to hurt his knee in the opener at Philadelphia.
Right now, you know, only thing I can do is keep working and get better. You know, and if I get up to a level where I am one of the top-notch players and I get knocked back down, I'll try to do the same thing all over again.
Pass rush up the middle and big plays in the secondary. Miami's Dan Marino can tell you there's more to this defense than just those 4 Pro Bowl linebackers.
He's having the best year of his career. Up next, we'll go one-on-one with Saints punter Tommy Barnhardt. Stick around for more of Saints Sideline.
On average, Tommy Barnhardt continues to have his best season as a Saint.
You know, Ed, if he keeps it up, he could be on his way to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. But as we see in this visit to Tommy's Kenner home, he's trying to take his success in stride.
So you used,
it is a semi-reclusive lifestyle that the 29-year-old New Orleans Saints punter lives here in his home of just about a year.
It's a nice-sized kitchen, Tom.
Yeah, this is where all the dirty work takes place. You know, you got to feed yourself and prepare those nice meals to get ready to have all that energy on Sunday.
Well, most bachelors really don't have anything in their refrigerator. Let's see what Tommy has in his refrigerator. What's this?
That's a deer leg.
Deer leg. How are you going to cook this?
I like smoking deer and turkey, and I like grilling out a lot in the springtime, summer, and most of the time when the weather's nice in the winter.
It doesn't take, you know, fancy cars, a lot of, you know, fancy jewelry, nice clothes and stuff to make me happy. It's the main thing is having a good family, having, you know, support from my parents and my sisters and my relatives, and also just being able to, a lot of times, just to spend time with them.
You got to have a little bit of everything, and have popsicles.
Sausage. What are these?
Yeah, those are popsicles, and it's a banana. When the bananas start to turn brown and get bad, and they get a little soft, you can peel them, take them out of the peeling of the banana, roll them up in aluminum foil, stick them in the freezer, and you make a popsicle out of it. There's still a little kid in me at times when I come home.
Okay, you have some chicken in there, waffles.
Yeah, if you notice in here, most of everything is packaged individually. There's no TV dinners or anything like that, so I make everything from scratch.
It has been a productive year thus far for Tommy. He now has the #1 ranking in the NFC, but he says that's not really important.
Every time I go out there, I have a set goal that I want to reach every time I go out to punt the football. So therefore, the other stuff is kind of bonus. And it's not necessarily, I don't think that I'm doing anything better than I have in the past. It's just those guys, we have a good nucleus of guys on that punt team and in special teams, period, that are doing a really good job covering.
That's a dandy. Good downfield coverage.
We're there to help out the offense and the defense, and I like that. I like when we're put in situations to where so-called pressure is put on, whether I'm backed up in my own end zone or whether I'm putting the punt inside the 10. You know, those are the types of situations where I, as a punter, can make a contribution to the football team. I like to look at myself as a weapon to create field position. I think I'm at the point now to where I'm kicking the way Tommy Barnhardt can punt the football.
Up next, more from the Saints' victory over the Dolphins.
And some Saints help out for the holidays. It's time to do a good deed when Saints Sideline continues. Christmas holidays fast approaching. Some Saints are heading into the community to help out. Saints defensive linemen made Thanksgiving a happier time for some needy families. 7 players dropped by Bridge House to distribute $3,500 worth of food baskets.
I think it was particularly meaningful for me that it was their idea and, you know, not mine or someone else's, and it shows that the players' heart is in the right place and that they do recognize that they're gifted people.
Veterans Jim Wilks and Wayne Martin came up with the idea, and each player gave $500 to the cause, which will help out 50 area families.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
I think this is more important than any game. You know, this is life. This is people that need to have a good time in their life, and Thanksgiving is the best time that I can think of to help people.
We're very fortunate and very blessed to be in the position that we are, and we just want to, do something for somebody, even if it's just for a day.
Of course, the defensive linemen are not the only players helping out. Linebacker Ricky Jackson is donating $100 every time he sacks the quarterback this season to the Operation Happy Child program. The program provides Christmas gifts for the patients of the New Orleans Adolescent Hospital. And it's not just the players helping out. The spouses are also getting involved. Before the Dolphins game Sunday, the Saints' wives were collecting non-perishable food and money for their 6th annual food drive with the Salvation Army. The food and money goes to needy families in the area.
We're in a position right now that we're not going to be in for very long, just a short while we're here, in pro football. And we have the means to talk to people, and they're interested, and we can get the word out much easier, and it's really nice feeling to be able to help people.
2 years ago, they raised enough food and money to feed 300 families. Last year, they fed 700. This year, they expect to feed at least 700 families.
While the wives were outside the dome doing good deeds, the husbands were inside beating up on the Dolphins. The play that put the Saints ahead to stay came late in the 3rd quarter when number 91 had an early Christmas present bounce right into his hands.
Saints nose tackle Robert "Pig" Goff is living up to his nickname with his 2nd TD of the season and his NFL career coming in the 3rd quarter against Miami. Goff grabbed Dan Marino's fumble and ran 28 yards to break a 10-all tie.
The line, when you see the ball, you don't know what to do. And instincts, I'm still in shock. It's Christmas time. This feels like a nice Christmas present right here.
Pig Goff was a gift from Tampa Bay. He cost the Saints a 10th round pick in a trade made September 3rd, 1990.
Even though at the time it was thought to be a throwaway trade, kind of an inconspicuous deal on the 3rd of September 1990, I think the trade for Pig Goff is one of the better deals that Jim Finks has made since he's been with the Saints.
I agree with you, Ed. And that 10th round pick from the Saints, Tampa Bay took Highland Hickson, a running back from Michigan State who never made it with the Bucks.
Up next, we'll go back a decade to a very satisfying afternoon with the Falcons. Stay with us for more of Saints Sideline. Of the Saints' 9 victories so far this season, the club has come from behind in the 2nd half to win. Once again Sunday, the coaching staff made some necessary adjustments.
In the 2nd quarter, Dan Marino threw for 135 yards. Marino hit 11 straight passes before missing early in the 3rd. The Saints made an adjustment at halftime on the pass rush, and it paid off with 4 sacks and a bunch of hurries.
He has a tendency
and you get guys rushing off the corner to step up and complete, and he did that a couple times today. But we made adjustments for it and made sure that we stay in our own pass rushing lanes in the inside, and made it hard for him to just step up anytime we wanted to complete passes.
The Saints have 46 quarterback sacks for the season.
Of course, up next for the Saints will be the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints have had a lot of success against Atlanta in recent years, winning 9 of the last 12 games. But the Falcons still lead the all-time series by 7 games. Through the years, there have been some very memorable close ones and several blowouts in the series. The most satisfying blowout for the Saints fans came at the tail end of the 1982 season, as we see in this week's great game in Saints history. January 3rd in the Superdome. Bum Phillips' team needed a win in the season finale to have any hopes at making the playoffs. The defense came out ready for the challenge. The powerful Falcon running game was held to just 80 yards, and Saints pass rushers sacked Falcon quarterbacks 4 times. When the Falcons did threaten, the Saints made the big plays, like this interception by Dennis Dirt Winston, as Atlanta was held to just 6 points on the day, their lowest total of the season. Meanwhile, on offense, the Snake had things working. Kenny Stabler completed 25 of 39 passes for 279 yards, including this touchdown to wide receiver Kenny Duckett. But the offensive star on this Sunday was number 30, Wayne Wilson. Wilson gained 172 yards running and receiving and scored 3 touchdowns as the Saints rolled up 472 yards of total offense and a club record 32 first downs. The special teams also played well and turned in one of the most exciting plays of the year. Punter Russell Erkslaven throws to safety Bill Hurley on a fake punt. Hurley had been an option quarterback at Syracuse University, and he shows off his running skills here. This touchdown capped off a great day for the Saints. They finished the strike-shortened season at 4-5, but unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs. But at least for this Sunday, it was all smiles in the Superdome as the Saints crushed the Falcons 35-6. There's still a long way to go on Saints Sideline. Up next, we'll update the playoff picture and look ahead to a special Thursday night date with the Falcons. With 4 games to go, the Saints still trail San Francisco by a game in the NFC West. The Niners held on to beat Philadelphia Eagles 20-14 to move their record to 10-2. The Saints are next at 9-3. The Falcons played well Sunday, shutting out New England 34-0, and the Rams are now in sole possession of last place as they lost to Minnesota. The 49ers have clinched a playoff berth. They'll host Miami this weekend. Minnesota is 9-3, 3 games up in the Central. And the Dallas Cowboys got a Thanksgiving Day win over the New York Giants to move to 10-2. The Saints still lead the wild card parade. The Washington Redskins are once again the second-best wild card team after their thumping of Phoenix. And the Eagles fall to the number 3 wild card spot after the loss in San Francisco. The Green Bay Packers are hot on the trail. They won again Sunday to move to 6-6.
Next up, the Saints will be in your face as the 4th time this season New Orleans goes prime time for a Thursday night battle with the Falcons. The 2 teams met back in week 3 in Atlanta. This was the Saints' only touchdown of the game. Bobby Hebert with a dart to Quinn Early, tied it at 7 in the 3rd quarter. Morton Anderson then hit the game winner from 47 yards out. That with less than 2 minutes to play. But the story of this one, the Saints defense, Brett Maxey will pick off this Chris Miller pass to end it as the Saints won at the Georgia Dome 10-7. Alex, both principals involved in that play are out for the season. Of course, Brett Maxey was hurt in San Francisco, and the Falcon quarterback Chris Miller is on injured reserve. The Falcons have really struggled without their leader. You have to believe if they can pressure Billy Joe Tolliver and Jerry Glanville doesn't beat him up on the sideline, the Saints have an excellent chance to win on Thursday. I think they're just a better team than the Falcons.
So our defense is also awesome. The Saints had one of their best rushing games in Atlanta, Ed. They ran for 121 yards, and that also bodes well for them on Thursday. Kickoff time is 7 o'clock in the Dome.
In the Dome, and then after that on Friday night, the state semifinals kick off in high school football. Catch all the action with Coach J.T. Curtis and me on Friday Night Football. Honville Tigers will be there. That's Friday night at 10:30 right here on WGNO 26. I'm Ed Daniels.
I'm Alexander Laurent. We'll see you next week on Saints Sideline.